Heard my little sis is buying a car. You'll need my secret guide.
Gross, no way. I already used Capital One Auto Navigator.
I bet your credit score
Wasn't impacted at all, so ha. I got my real rate and monthly payment, had an amazing test drive at the dealership, and made the purchase.
Taking the easy way out. That's so you.
Still not getting it. That's so you. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms and conditions apply. Find out more at CapitalOne.com/autonavigator.
Ask Sherwin-Williams during the 4-day super sale September 16th through the 19th and get 40% off paints and stains with prices starting at $26.69. That means 40% off our most popular color family, blue. Psychologists have found it to be soothing and relaxing, which makes it especially great for bedrooms and bathrooms. And of course, 40% off all of our other colors. Shop the sale online or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Click the banner to learn more. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
This is John Silver, lead recruiter of the Dark Order, and you are listening to All Things Elite.
Welcome everyone to the 164th episode of Social Suplex's podcast about AEW with a proclivity for positivity. Welcome to All Things Elite. I am your host, Floyd Johnson, and with me today is my friend, the man that has never, ever, not once, undefeated in his life in arguments. It is our frequent collaborator, Mr. J.R. Perez. How you doing today, J.R.?
I am doing wonderful, Floyd. Finally, after a month of where I felt like it was 100+ degrees, it is starting to get a little bit cooler now. I'm excited because fall is in the air, and when fall comes in the air, it's Halloween time. With Halloween time comes Halloween ends. But I digress. Let's get back to why we're here. Let's talk about some All Elite Wrestling.
All right, before we get started on all things Elite and talking about the everything AEW, you are hearing me hosting the show, which is not usual. Austin, schedule got changed at the last minute. He is actually at work right now, so he wouldn't have been able to record. He did record a little video, audio recording. I listened to part of it. I'm going to figure out a great way to put it in because I believe what he has to say has to do with the breaking news of the week or the top story of the week. So I'll throw it in there. We're going to miss Austin, but we will talk to him next week. Might adjust the schedule on the days we record, but we do what we can because Austin's way better at this than I am. So, but hopefully you can bear with me and JR. Basically, it's like happy 10th anniversary to One Nation Radio. Want to throw that out there because it's funny. They talked about how they got started on the show and how they would just do these talks and then they decided, hey, let's record it. Let's do a show, that kind of thing. And honestly, me and JR talk probably more than two humans should. Absolutely. Right, JR?
100% between professional wrestling and NFL and college football and life. We spend way too much time on the phone.
We literally talk to each other more than two humans should. Like, if somebody else told me they talk to their friend as much as I talk to JR, I would immediately think they're weird. So if you think we're weird, I can honestly say this. I am. I'm pretty weird. As you'll get from a lot of my thoughts on the show this week, I am pretty weird. And JR, like a good friend, matches my weirdness. He doesn't really admit it. He just says he's never wrong. So that in itself is weird. So JR, you know what we're going to do before we hit our big news of the week? We're going to make sure you're downloading this fine show on Google or Apple Podcasts. Please leave a rating and review if you're so inclined. Follow us at AT Elite Pod, and then at Social Suplex, and then at Austin Sumwitz. That's Austin SZUMOWICZ, or at Floyd Johnson Jr. if you want to follow me directly. That's FLYDJOHNSONJR on Twitter. And you can follow JR at Lucha Professor on Twitter. You'll see him. We tag each other in a lot of posts, so you can always find us that way. JR's kind of the unofficial member of All Things Elite. He really does not like recording every week, so that's why he's kind of the unofficial member. I can generally talk him into filling in when needed to. So thank you, JR, as usual, and let's get right into the big news of the week. It's what everybody's been talking about for a week. We're almost late to the party because we're just talking about it now. It's suspensions announced in AEW. CM Punk, Ace Steel, The Elite, and Brandon Cutler all suspended pending the investigation into the alleged fight after a fight, and I guess it would have been during the all-out press scrum in reaction to CM Punk's comments. Again, that part lasted a long way. Anybody listening to the show knows about that and all the rumors. Well, the fact is, we got a suspension. And so, JR, we're going to start with you. Okay? We're going to try to do this in sections. First of all, what do you think of Tony Khan's decision to suspend the wrestlers?
Well, a few things. Number one, there's actually a few more suspensions. Michael Nakazawa, Pat Buck, who was an agent, and Christopher Daniels was also suspended as well. So that needs to be added into that. And as far as
everybody around or near it looks like they got suspended.
Yes. So from my understanding is that whoever was in that scuffle melee, they were, for the sake of, and this is to answer your question, what I think of Tony Khan's decision. So during the sake of investigation, and I've been a part, from my organization, we've had investigations in a number of different areas. And whether it's a public company, a private company, a government agency, the best thing to do in order to prevent additional issues to arise is have those individuals suspended. And my assumption at this time is suspended with pay. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's suspended with pay. You've seen this in Major League Baseball. You've seen this in the NFL, is when investigations are occurring, individuals are sent home, they collect their paycheck until the investigation is concluded. And then once the investigation is concluded, then you will see what type of punishments are doled out. So I think Tony Khan made the right decision to send everybody home. Don't talk about what's happening. You're going to meet with them. As we know, there's an investigation that's occurring. You're going to talk to investigators, figure out what happened, who's at fault, at what percentage, and then go from there.
Yes. You might have guessed this from my last week. I think the suspensions. Now, there's two sides. I have to say this because I realized that lawsuits, I did not know this, and it later came out that people were threatening lawsuits and all that kind of stuff. When you're dealing with legal and lawsuits, that's a different thing. Probably what you did is the best thing, right? But let's talk about how I thought before. Then I thought it was idiotic to suspend anybody. The reason being, that was the hottest thing that I'd heard about AEW since literally CM Punk debuted. that was the most I'd heard about anyone talking about AEW since CM Punk debuted. People that I don't know, people that I know that don't really watch wrestling, more WWE guys asking me what's going on with AEW. Hey, I'm going to tune in to see what happens. Blah, blah, blah. It was all the world was watching to see the T. Is that would be the term? Or to see it explode. Or to see, sometimes you just want to watch the world burn. They wanted to see the AEW world burn in front of it. So in that way, in that case, in that other side, before I knew, I have to say, good Lord, don't suspend anybody. Use it. Freaking CM Punk in the middle of the ring when the show starts. No one knows what he's going to say. Let him go off. Throw the title down. I didn't want to be the champion of this stupid company anyway. Ratings. Yeah, that's what I dig. But I'm going to get more into that later. But yeah, I wanted this to be super messy. My pro wrestling, the rest of pro wrestling I grew up on, and I understand pro wrestling evolves, it adapts, all that stuff. My pro wrestling uses the fuck out of this, and that's the pro wrestling I love. So yeah, I wanted it used. I wanted names named. I wanted people called names. I wanted people saying Tony Khan is stupid. I wanted it all. I wanted to bathe in the messiness. I wanted to be a pig in slop. Not necessarily what I got, but yes, one way, legally, financially, company-wise, probably the best decision. Storytelling, potential growth, it's definitely not the best decision. So, we're going to move on to the next thing I want to cover, right? In this same thing. Are you Team Punk, Team Elite, or something else, JR?
So for me, I'm being completely non-biased. I am Team AEW. And what that means is that you have to think of what's in the best interest of the organization. And there's a lot of blame to go around. There's Tony Khan has blame as being who oversees the company, because as part of his leadership, you have to look at what did I do as a leader to contribute to the situation. That could have been allowing certain practices to occur. That could have been not addressing issues or conflict that has arisen. Because this is not something that just out of thin air came up between CM Punk and the members of the Elite. So I think CM Punk deserves blame for going about business the way he did. And as the term is used so eloquently, airing out dirty laundry. If he had a serious issue talk about being a professional and this is a business, he should have aired those grievances to Tony Khan and demanded that those issues be addressed. And I think who holds more blame than CM Punk is the Elite, because at the end of the day, the Elite is the executive vice presidents of that company. Whether that is just a title and there's no power to that, they are executive officers of that company. They're held to a higher standard than any other talent in that company because they're executive officers. So they hold a lot of blame as well. And they should have been the ones that also went to Tony Khan after the fact. If this did occur with CM Punk, said, hey, we need to fix this. This is a problem. This is going to continue to devolve into a situation where altercations are going to break out. We're going to have this negativity. This is going to create a horrible working environment for everybody. We need to fix this. And so I'm not anybody's team. I think everybody has to shoulder the blame in this, and hope in whatever decision or outcome that comes out of this. And I forgot to mention this, Fightful Select has reported that with these suspensions, it's unclear how long these suspensions are going to last. My assumption, as I said earlier, is that it's going to last throughout the duration of the investigation, however long that takes. But even the talent who are suspended, they are not given, or agents are not given, they weren't given a time of how long they expect to be on the sidelines. But I'm for the locker room and what's in the best interest of AEW. So that's my side.
All right, so I'm gonna be simple. Everybody knows how I've rolled with the Elite for years, since basically Cody joined the Bullet Club, and I watched the first Wrestle Kingdom that I ever watched in full. That's beside the point. So I love the Elite. I have more Young Bucks signed items. This is a crazy trivia that you probably wouldn't know, JR. I have more Young Bucks signed items than I have anyone. They're number one. Above FTR, which I've been on a roll with FTR. Still smokes them. Right? Still have more Young Bucks stuff. Yeah. Met the Young Bucks. Young Bucks, Cody, or Becky Lynch. Somewhere in there. The most I've ever met anybody. Right? One of my favorite tag teams. Right after FTR. Clearly. I know that's weird to say. But it was like, I was the kid when I was in middle school. If you asked me who my favorite wrestler was, I'd say Shawn. And you'd be like, who's your second favorite wrestler? Brett. You know, you're supposed to be a Shawn or a Brett guy. I was like, I like Shawn and Brett. Like, you're supposed to be a FTR or Young Bucks guy. I like FTR and Young Bucks. They both do what they do better than anyone else in the world. I say this to say this. Yeah, they kind of, the Elite last year. And, earlier this year, with everything working out, and it's perfect and it's worked out for Cody, I kind of feel like, maybe there was a little something there with Cody and the Elite. And I feel like the reason Cody might not be in AEW is that relationship in general. And I was like, okay, I can let that go. I'm like, whatever, I don't have any solid evidence. And then Kenny Omega, Mr. Kenneth Jerome Omega, had that interview with Dave Meltzer, where he, in the most eloquent and professional way, buried Cody. And I was like, at that point in time, love Kenny Omega as a wrestler, the character. But whatever his real name is, Tyson, whatever, fuck that dude. So, if you ask me what team I am, I'm Team Punk. Because as I've broken down a lot of ways, when I've broken down CM Punk, I've been very clear that I feel like he was the one wronged in this situation. Did his reaction measure the level that he was wrong? No. But I will more focus on if you were wronged than if your retaliation to being wronged was what I deemed acceptable. I'm not going to go like, I hate you because you retaliated too hard. I'm going to be like, you were wronged. I get it. People retaliate to the level that they were. And in this CM Punk thing, if you heard the interview, if you listened past the anger, as I stated last week, you heard he felt he was wronged. And in not a lot of ways have you felt that he wronged anyone until he started replying to he was wrong. Did he go off the cuff and bury someone before Hangman? As far as everyone was concerned, as far as every interview, he was the perfect locker room guy. He was helping young wrestlers. He was cutting the great promos. He was doing whatever it takes. I literally saw him at AEW, at Rampage, on the side of the building, with the line, literally taking pictures and signing autographs. This man loved being in AEW. He loved dealing with AEW. And then some people made it clear that they didn't necessarily want him there. And from what I understand, it's based off something he didn't even do. So yes, if you ask me who's right, I'm going to go Team Punk. So I'm going to move on to my last piece. Sir JR, who do you keep? If you have to keep one side or the other, who do you keep?
Can I choose neither?
I mean, if that's your opinion.
So this is, I Right now, I will be completely honest, it's very difficult to say for certain because we are getting like bits and pieces of stories that are not matching up. I will say, in my opinion, based on some historical information that's out there involving a civil lawsuit, seems CM Punk may exaggerate a tiny bit. I'm saying may. I'm just saying based on the lawsuit, civil lawsuit loss, and according to rumors through Fightful Select, his story may have changed. It went from, well, they kicked in the door to, and they may have kicked in the door. So things like that kind of made me lead to believe that his story may not be on the up and up. But at the end of the day, these are rumors. This isn't, we don't know nothing for certain until everything comes out. And even then, we may not know what comes out. From one of the rumors they said is that they're dying to tell us, but they're told to keep their mouth shut until everything is done. And then even then, we don't know because of pending civil litigation or even criminal litigation. On one hand, I think both deserve severe punishment. I think it'd be for CM Punk, I would say he should be suspended for a period of time without pay, and that should suffice. However, there's a part of me that thinks the way that locker room was created, going back to January 2019, there are many individuals who are supporters and allies of the Elite, Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. And it could entirely disrupt the locker room to a point where even CM Punk says, fuck this, I don't need, sorry to be blunt, but fuck this, I don't need this negativity in my life. I came here to help you guys out. You guys shit on me, I'm out. So he may not want to be there even if they kept him, but that's my recommendation, would be suspended without pay. For the Elite, their punishment is even more severe. As I think they should be stripped of their executive vice president titles. I don't think with what they did, like I said, they're held to higher standards being executive officers. So by potentially committing the bigger infraction, or even if it's the same, they need to be brought down to say, you're just talent now. Because you should have known better being executive officers. You are held to a higher standard. Our locker room depends on you, and you screwed that up. And so I would honestly, I would just move on from all of them because I think you have the locker room and you have talent, as shown, as we're going to cover on Wednesday, that can rally around certain leaders that will take your company into the next level. So I would get rid of all of them just to say, this is my company. I'm not going to tolerate this bullshit. We're going to put on the best program we can, and we're going to have a functional environment for our talent. Now, if you're besides that, significant suspension without pay for CM Punk, and then I would strip the Elite of their executive vice president titles and make them wrestlers. Which in that turn, you don't
want to get rid of anybody. You want to keep everybody, is what you're saying.
If you're saying I have to get rid of somebody, I think you're going to have no choice but to get rid of CM Punk. Okay. I will say that I don't based on the locker room allegiances that may be with. I mean, that company, the running joke was that it was called All Friends Wrestling because they were allies, colleagues who worked closely with the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega and Cody Rhodes at that time. And from what the rumors you're hearing is that there are some that says that if CM Punk is not dealt a significant punishment, which was suspension without pay or fired, that locker room is not going to be happy, and a not happy locker room will create a toxic environment where he may not have a choice but to leave. So, I mean, if I have to pick one, it's going to be CM Punk.
So let me go into my my side of it. It's honestly going to be very short. I've actually said this in a group chat that I'm in earlier. I don't care in this particular case who's right or wrong. I really don't. I've never cared who's right or wrong. I see the CM Punk side of it, whatever. What matters to me is that you use this. That's always been my thing. So, in this particular case, CM Punk is 40-something years old. Okay, he's had 3 matches. His last 3 matches, 6-man tag, injured. Gets squashed in 3 minutes. Then has the world title match, injured. They're not small injuries. They're significant injuries. And if anyone here that's listening knows how the human body works, once you start getting older, without taking drastic measures, whether it's human growth hormone, steroids, or something, your body doesn't generally get better. It gets worse. You start breaking down more, right? So as far as I'm concerned, as much as I love CM Punk, as much as I think he's right, as much as I want to keep anywhere, he's broken. Kenny Omega's out the hill. Young Bucks haven't missed really any significant time since they got there. So I have these 3 guys that are literally essential to my company. One is the first world champion. They were the Trios Champions, tag champions, or whatever. They are essential to how you run. And this other guy who brings in more eyes when he's there, but literally gets hurt every time he wrestles. And yes, I count 2 out of 3 times every time you wrestle. I know it's not every time, but come on. Anytime you put on a match that lasts more than 5 minutes, you get hurt. You go with the smart money. The smart money was the Bucks and Kenny. It's just, this is not a right or wrong decision. This is a financial business decision. I'd rather take 3 healthy bodies and the loyalty that comes with them than this dude that's literally out for 8 months. Like, we're not going to see CM Punk into maybe, like, if I'm just doing quick math, the earliest Revolution, maybe Double or Nothing next year. Come on, you can't put your money behind that. So even if you don't fire Punk, just pay him to stay home. You have to pick the elite in this situation. It's the business pick. You pick the elite because it's, lack of a better term, best for business. And I definitely wasn't going to use the WWE thing, but it just works in this case. And I'm sorry they didn't invent the term best for business. So, yeah, there's no way you pick Punk. He's broken. He's done without the intervention of drugs, which he really says he doesn't use. So, who do you pick? I mean, JR, I will have you. Hey, I mean, am I making a point here?
You're absolutely making a point. I mean, is that if you look at it, it's, you're put into a position where, like, this guy gets injured. There's also these other conflicts, and I got to pick one. It's not going to be him, but I'll leave it at this. It's very unfortunate that these 4 individuals who have made successful careers in pro wrestling have allowed their egos to get in the way and create such a conflict that we may see some of them never back in AEW. And I'm really trying to rack my brain of who has, like, the last time this has happened to. And I'm sure it's happened, more in the last 30 years. But I'm thinking, Ultimate Warrior walking out, getting fired by Vince because his ego got in the way. And, at SummerSlam 1991, Vince had to fire him. I'm thinking the issues between Eric Bischoff and Ric Flair in WCW, and that's a boss to a wrestler, not a wrestler to wrestler. And I know, obviously the elite is executive vice presidents, but it's just very unfortunate because there's so much more business to be made for each of these individuals and even working together, that they can't find some sort of common ground, because it doesn't look like they're going to find some sort of common ground. That ship has sailed. You heard Punk say it. The time for apologies are over. So, and I guess that's one of the things with CM Punk is that he's in a position where he can say whatever he wants because of the success he has in his career, and can just easily say, I don't have to be here. I can leave, just like he did, 8 years ago. And, I'm sure the Elite can do something similar too. Hey, we made a lot of money. We founded this company. We could also leave too if you don't want us here.
I mean, you know what? I can't really say anything because for the most part, I agree with that. It's just, ultimately, I hope everybody can put on their big boy pants, say, hey, let's use this to make some money and move on. But I feel like if that was going to happen, it would have happened like a week ago. You know what I mean? But we'll see. Anything can happen in this wild world of professional wrestling, which I love so much. And honestly, everything that's going on this week is kind of what I love about professional wrestling, other than, the actual performances. Man, it's like a real life soap opera outside of wrestling. If you could get the right writers and the right stuff, they could do a professional wrestling soap opera. And I think it would go over so big. And you never actually need wrestling out the ring. Just who wins this match? Who does it? Man, you dyed your hair blonde. My hair was already blonde. You dyed your hair blue. Oh, you're going to go by this name? That's too close to my name. Our gimmicks are too close. All the shit you hear from wrestling seems like it would make a great soap opera. It's like the McMahon family. Like, you basically, Dynasty or Young and the Restless or any of the good shit. But, all right, so that's how we open.
Hello, I'm Austin Sumwitz, and I am from the All Things Elite podcast, and the reason why you're hearing me in this form right now is because I am not able to be on the podcast this week due to my work being rescheduled. I'm working the day that we normally record the podcast, me and Floyd, so I'm not able to be on the show in a live capacity, but I have this pre-recorded thing that I wanted to send over to Floyd because I felt the need to get my thoughts out about the continuing developments that we're getting with the suspensions and the fallout from the all-out media scrum and subsequent backstage brawl between the Elite and CM Punk. Of course, on Dynamite, the titles for the Trios Champions and the AEW World Champion were stripped. We have new Trios Champions, which we will for sure talk about in this episode that I'm sure either Floyd will mention. I don't know where this is being put in the episode, so I'm just making it so I'm not spoiling anything. So there's that. But and then we also have the tournament for the AEW World Championship, which will go out all the way to AEW Grand Slam, and I'm very excited about that. But I wanted to give my thoughts on the continuing thoughts that I have about CM Punk, and this will probably be the last thing I say on the matter until we get new developments. Because quite honestly, I'm kind of done talking about it, and I want to just kind of leave things as they are right now. So what I would say is, because we have been confirmed from reports from Wrestling Observer and other sources saying that everyone has pretty much been suspended. We don't know for how long. We don't know the severity of the suspensions, and hell, with CM Punk, we have been given information about the tricep injury he suffered in his match against Jon Moxley at All Out, and that's supposed to keep him out for 8 months. We don't know how the suspension, if he has one, affects that, or if he's just going to be out for 8 months with the injury. We don't know. But regardless of the fact, Punk is gone, the Bucks are gone, Kenny is gone, and I'm going to just focus on Punk because everyone knows that's my guy. Because I'm sure Floyd and whoever else is on the podcast will go into way more detail about that, if they haven't already. But I will say is that there's two angles I want to take with Punk, and I'll make this as quick as I possibly can, because the first thing is that we've seen that the locker room mentality towards CM Punk has definitely changed, and the changing factor is the fact that, well, people weren't happy about the things he had to say. People weren't happy about him going into business against Hangman and his response to how he felt Hangman took into business for himself, and then the whole fight that took place backstage. So Punk, in terms of wrestling, has shown that he has fallen in love with this business again, or at least pro wrestling in itself. The problem is, Angry Phil Brooks has made his return alongside CM Punk for the first time, and we saw him at the media scrum, and quite honestly, he could have stayed home. That's the fact of the matter. Angry Phil Brooks could have stayed home. And look, I understand still, and I've said, from everything that he's coming out with, he seems to be in the right with the grievances that he has. The way he went about it, though, it's very like CM Punk to stand his ground and spew on everybody and not hold anything back. But also, you're not going up against the Machine. You're going up against 3 guys who have, well, actually 4 guys, in fact, with Hangman and the Bucks and Kenny, who have been beloved by the AEW fans since the company's inception and is a reason why the company is what it is now. So it's not the same as going after Vince McMahon. It's not the same as going up against Triple H. So that's that. But Punk really needs to decide if he can get through all of the stuff that he clearly doesn't like about pro wrestling, which is feeling like he's being disrespected by talent, not being treated the way that he feels like he needs to be treated, just all the respect, emotional, basically everything outside of the actual bell-to-bell wrestling. He needs to decide if he can get through that and put everything aside, do business, and make amends with the locker room, which, again, seemingly has turned against him, in order to do business. Because if he can't, then we might be seeing another bridge get burnt, because you ain't going back to WWE, and if you burn the bridge with AEW, I don't see Punk wrestling another independence. Like, he could wrestle in Japan, but I don't think that would happen. So that could be it for him wrestling-wise. But then also on the other side of things, he suffered yet another injury in the span of, 3-4 months? First, it was the foot injury that took place after Double or Nothing, and now it's another major injury in a different location, and this one is a longer recovery time, with the tricep tear being more of an 8-month recovery, reportedly. So Punk is approaching his 44th birthday in October. He needs to also decide, can you physically still do this? Are you able to go out and wrestle against everybody on a consistent basis, being on television, and stay healthy? Because if you can't, then you might have to call it. So I gotta say again, Punk has given me more as a fan in this return to wrestling than I could have ever imagined. I never thought he was coming back to wrestling. This past year, besides what took place recently, has been incredible and has been some of my favorite things to experience as a fan. Has it been perfect? No, but I never expected it to be perfect because, it's Punk coming back after 7 years. He's not in his prime anymore when he was wrestling in WWE or even when he was wrestling in Ring of Honor. He's not in his prime in that regard. So there's a really big difference between where he is now and where he was. But regardless, I got to see my favorite wrestler in a wrestling ring, and I never saw him before he left WWE. And I got to see his debut, I got to see his first match in AEW, and I got to see his first championship in AEW, probably might be his only, honestly. And I saw it all live, and I'm so grateful that I got to experience that. So I've always said, if Punk could wrestle for 2 more years or 2 more days, I'm okay with whatever happens. But the fact of the matter is that his legacy has taken a major hit. As a big CM Punk fan, and again, stand by the fact that he's still my favorite wrestler, and I still love Punk despite everything that has transpired. If you want to take a stab at my character because of that, I think you put way too much stock in people's wrestling opinions, but go ahead, whatever helps you sleep at night, I guess. But he is still my guy that I support, but I don't know him personally. And his legacy has taken a massive hit with this whole debacle that took place after All Out. So both emotionally with connections with the locker room and trying to make amends there and dealing with everything else outside of the wrestling part of wrestling, he needs to decide if that's worth it for him, and then he also needs to decide if, hey, can I physically still do this? Because if I can't do either of those things, I'd say call it a career. That would be my advice to Punk, which, again, I don't expect him to take. He doesn't know me. I don't know him. I'm just a fan of his. But he really needs to figure this out in the time that he's out because he doesn't need to do this. I'm so happy he has done this, but again, he can do whatever he wants. He can go back to doing movies, commentate for CFFC, write comics, do anything, support his wife with WOW Wrestling, Women of Wrestling. Got the whole thing wrong there, but he can do any of that. And he's still fine in a career. Like, Punk is still a brand. at the end of the day. He doesn't have to wrestle. I would love it if he continued to do so, but you've got a lot of mending bridges in the AEW because if this bridge is rocky. It's still salvageable, unlike WWE, but it's rocky, and you got to do a lot of work to make things up. I understand if he's in the wrong at this point, like right now. I don't care who's right and who's wrong. I just want everybody to get along. I want AEW to continue to do great work. And listen, the show, Dynamite, that followed all of this was still great. So AEW is still putting on good shows despite all of this. So I'm not concerned about the company in that regard. Dynamite was still great this week. I'm still excited for the tournament leading up to Grand Slam. And Grand Slam's looking like it's going to be a great show as well. So I'm just focused on the Punk thing. And with him, he really needs to decide if he can really do this still, both physically and mentally and emotionally. So if he can't, thank you for the memories. I genuinely cannot thank you enough for everything that you've provided me as a fan. Punk is still in my good graces because he's given me a lot personally as a fan and as somebody to help me find comfort in my own skin, sort of, in a way. I'll kind of leave it vague just for the sake of leaving it vague, but yeah, we got to really do a lot of fixing, though, if he wants to come back to wrestling again, because there's a lot of problems that got to be fixed. But that's all I got to say on the matter for that. Again, apologies for not being on the show live. I will see you guys next week. But now you can get back to your regularly scheduled All Things Elite, hosted by my good friend, Floyd Johnson Jr. So I'll see you guys next week.
We're going to go into our Dynamite review. Like I said, it's a little different from how Austin does it because, he's better at this than me. But we're going to go ahead and look at Dynamite results from September 7th in Buffalo, New York. We got a bunch of Buffalo kids on the roster, as in the Butcher, the Blade, Allie, even though I think she's from Canada, but I guess she lives in Buffalo now, and Daniel Garcia. So, and speaking of the Buffalo kids, Daniel Garcia's main event in the show this week, but we'll get there in just a second. So Tony Khan starts off with the announcement to kick the show. I don't generally read these, but I am. Says, thank you for joining tonight. Following All Out on pay-per-view this past Sunday, I've been forced to vacate the AEW World Championship as well as the AEW World Trios Championship. New World Trios Champion will be crowned live tonight in our opening contest in a fight between Orange Cassidy and the Best Friends versus the AEW All-Atlantic Champion Pac and the Lucha Bros, a.k.a. the Death Triangle. The AEW World Championship is the single most prized title in all of combat sports. Also, seems like the single most cursed title in sports this year. And it will be added in the grandest way possible. The AEW Grand Slam Tournament of Champions with seven-time World Champion Chris Jericho, former AEW World Champion and AEW World Tag Team Champion Hangman Page, 6-time World Champion Bryan Danielson, the all-time longest reigning TNT Champion Darby Allin, 3-time TNT Champion Sammy Guevara, and 3-time World Champion Jon Moxley fighting in a huge series of matches starting tonight. And the World Champion will be crowned 2 weeks from tonight at Arthur Ashe Stadium in New York City at AEW Dynamite Grand Slam. I promise you that it's going to be a great night of professional wrestling. AEW do our very best these next few weeks on the road to AEW Grand Slam. Thank you again. And if you looked at the brackets, we got 2 buys. Jericho and Moxley got a bye. So, and then it was going to be the winner of Bryan Danielson and Hangman. We're going to fight Jericho in the second round. And the winner between Sammy Guevara and Darby Allin, we're going to fight Jon Moxley in the second round. So, those are the matches we got for this week. Was those 2 matches. One happened on Dynamite, which was the Bryan Danielson Hangman match. One happening on Rampage with Sammy Guevara and Darby Allin. What did you think of this, JR? And specifically, the not naming of the former champions.
Yeah, I mean, they made it very clear to not talk about what happened. In addition to that, they also removed them from the AEW Dynamite intro. That was the first thing I noticed. Tony Khan didn't have a choice. He had to strip CM Punk not just because of the issue, but we come to find out that he tore his pectoral muscle out for, I think, 8 months, as you mentioned earlier. So they had to crown a new champion. He didn't have a choice. And in some ways, I don't want to say that CM Punk did Tony Khan a favor, but kind of did him a favor because, you know, you're going to have to do this. And doing another interim title, it's, you know, it's wrestling. Like, it's wrestling. There's no need for interim title. So crowning a new undisputed champion is the right way to go. The Trios Championship, same way. You just crowned them. You got to find new ones. I don't necessarily like the way they did it. They basically just threw it in, hey, you guys are having a match, so we'll just have you guys fight for the belts, when I think there could have been a better way to do it, but it needed to be done. And I think Tony Khan was very strategic on not coming out because that audience was not very happy because, as you know, these fan bases are very, very divided and they don't care who's right or wrong. They're either Team Punk or they're Team Elite. That's all that matters. So,
yeah, I just thought it was like a big old, I can do this without you. I want you here. I would like to have you here. My company works better with you here. I don't need you here. I can make this work. I can put on a great show. I have enough stars. I've built a roster where I can do it without you. We can literally forget you exist. And I thought that it was a power play by Tony Khan, and I thought it was in my opinion, it might not have been at all. It might have been legal. There might have been other things, but I want to clear, in my eyes, power play, I don't need you. Because you could have had them in the opening. You could have had them on a poster. You could have had them on anywhere. You could have said their names, and it wouldn't have changed the message at all. But not having their names sends a very direct message that I don't need you. I can do this. All right, on to the next. We had MJF come out to the ring wearing a Buffalo Bills Josh Allen jersey. I am not going to read his promo, but just say MJF was in rare form, cutting a very face promo about being from Buffalo, you know, saying people are ugly. You know, he was really playing it up. And then Jon Moxley came out, and Jon Moxley is in the house. Taz says MJF didn't expect this. So MJF and Jon Moxley exchange. Jon Moxley starts calling MJF out on some of his BS, saying he's basically not a good dude. That seems to be all it takes to trigger MJF to go back to regular MJF and bury everything and everybody in the city of Buffalo, including Josh Allen sucking, which, just going to throw it out there, Josh Allen threw a lot of interceptions on Sunday. He doesn't necessarily suck, but, you know, not everybody can be Patrick Mahomes. Jon Moxley takes this moment to let him know, this ain't the time, this ain't the place. Basically, if you don't get out the ring, I am going to knock the shit out of you. Then Moxley cut what many will consider the promo of the year. I've heard people flat out say it's the promo of the year. Because of that, I am going to read some of it. I'm not going to get Jon Moxley's energy. I don't have his gruff voice, but I am going to read it. Now, Buffalo, I'm no mood. I'm pissed off. I'm embarrassed. I'm pissed off about a great many things, but especially because I'm here without the AEW World Championship. The belt itself is just metal and leather. That doesn't mean anything. What means something to me is what the AEW World Championship represents. It represents passion for the sport, passion for this business and the fans. Those three letters represent the dream and the vision that we all had, and we wanted to show the world just what pro wrestling is, could be, and taking the dark and ugly side of business and let it die with the older generations. The AEW World Championship means being better than I was the day before. It represents slaying demons. It represents everything I love about this business. But the fact remains, on Sunday I lost, and that's on me, and that's my fault. I got pinned. That's on me. I missed the game-winning shot. I was surprised. I was supposed to be on vacation until about 2 days ago. But here's another chance. It's a hell of a shot. The winners always want the ball when the game's on the line. From a great movie. I want the ball, so hell yeah, I'm going to take the shot because this just isn't the time to win. This isn't just winning time right now. This is time to be a legend. Now, I'm going to comment first on this one. I feel I am not as high on this promo as everyone else, but I will say this is the promo that AEW needed right then for If you're trying to get back on track, level of respectability, this is the promo they needed. It reestablished the AEW World Title is the most important thing in this company, and he's like, I'm willing to ignore the time off. I'm willing to ignore the pain, everything, and just give me the ball, and I want to run with it. So Jon Moxley pretty much established himself as the face of the company in that promo. What did you think, sir?
I think it's exactly what needed to be done. I mean, let's just be realistic. From Sunday, beginning at probably 1 a.m. Eastern time, 10 at night Pacific time, to before All Out, till the beginning of AEW Dynamite. The AEW fan base, the AEW community, it was a very negative situation. No one knew what to expect. It was very toxic because of everything that happened. And Jon Moxley needed to come out and basically say, hey, I don't know how to say it, but basically, fuck all that bullshit. We're here to entertain you guys. We're here to do wrestling. That belt means more than one man. And, we're going to rally the troops and we're going to move forward. And this is one of the things I've said from the first time that company, I hate going back to it, but I'll say as quickly as possible. From the first time that company was founded, that company was created on basically really 5 people. Six, try to do math in my head. 5 people. The elite, 6 people. Kenny Omega, Cody Rhodes, Hangman Adam Page, the Young Bucks, those 5, and Chris Jericho. Eventually, we would get the Lucha Brothers, SCU, and Pac. But really, when you look at the first Double or Nothing, as we get there, that's all we knew. We're going to get like these few guys, like these, dozen or so guys in matches. And that's what created that company, was those 6 guys, the elite, the 5 of them, and Chris Jericho, adding in, the Lucha Bros, and then the 3 members of SCU was basically it. Like, that's all we knew. And then Pac, that's your 12. And I said the company needs to, you're going to have established stars and you're going to have move on, because there's going to come a time where, they're not going to be in the company, and can your company last? And I think this is what needed. It's like, hey, we have stars and we don't need you guys. We got Moxley, we got Bryan Danielson, we got MJF, we got Chris Jericho, and we're going to put on the best show we can possibly put on and entertain these fans. And that's how I took that promo as.
All right. So that was Moxley's word from it. We then came with the AEW World Trios match. We had the Death Triangle versus Best Friends and Orange Cassidy. In just the last sequence, the Best Friends walloped Death Triangle with a triple Canadian Destroyer. Taylor was isolated and ate a Fear Factor from Penna. Pac perched on the top and finished off Trent with the Black Arrow. New AEW World Trios Champions, the Death Triangle. Sir, what did you think of this match? What did you think of the choice?
So I thought the match was fun. I've always felt...
Heard my little sis is buying a car. You'll need my secret guide.
Gross, no way. I already used Capital One Auto Navigator.
I bet your credit score
Wasn't impacted at all, so I got my real rate and monthly payment, had an amazing test drive at the dealership, and made the purchase.
Taking the easy way out. That's so you.
Still not getting it. That's so you. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms and conditions apply. Find out more at CapitalOne.com/autonavigator.
Ask Sherwin-Williams during the 4-day super sale September 16th through the 19th and get 40% off paints and stains with prices starting at $26.69. That means 40% off our most popular color family, blue. Psychologists have found it to be soothing and relaxing, which makes it especially great for bedrooms and bathrooms. And of course, 40% off all of our other colors. Shop the sale online or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Click the banner to learn more. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
That Orange Cassidy has a following, and I was like, eventually I think he's gonna need to be a champion. And I felt that maybe Tony Khan would pull the trigger and have Best Friends be the champion. Especially, you think sometimes the Best Friends, they do get a lot of love. I think back during that time, during the great pandemic era, the wrestling that we experienced, think of Best Friends, Trent's mom Sue, the match, the I can't remember the name of the match, but it was against Santana and Ortiz in the parking lot. And so I thought they were going to, pull the trigger on them and win the tournament. That obviously didn't happen. They ended up losing to, in the semifinals. The issue I have is with the pick was the Death Triangle lost in the first round. So obviously, best friends, they made it to the semifinals, lost to Hangman and Dark Order. I just felt, it was kind of like, hey, you guys are having this match. Let's just put the belts on and we'll crown new champions and move on the best we can. I could see wanting to crown champions right away. I would have maybe done, I hate saying things, I feel like we've had a million tournaments in AEW, but maybe a mini tournament. Say, hey, this is going to be a semifinal match. We'll do another semifinal match. It's also difficult because, and I'm going to stop at this, you had the Trust Busters. In my opinion, that was just to set up for best friends to get a victory. House of Black, obviously we know Malachi's taking a leave of absence. Elite, obviously gone. Dragon Lee, with the Love Faction and Ganable, didn't seem to be sustainable. United Empire, obviously they're done for right now. And then you had Dark Order. John Silver was injured. So I don't think there was many options. Like that Trios title, I remember thinking about in the beginning, like, oh, this is going to be big. And looking at this tournament, it just didn't seem to work out, I think, the way that we wanted to. And now moving forward, it's going to be interesting on how that championship is defended and the contenders that come their way.
If you look at AEW history, the established trios very early were the Elite. The other one would have been the Best Friends and Orange Cassidy. They were pretty much established before the first Dynamite. And then the Death Triangle was established. So you're looking at two of the three most established six-man tag teams, trios tag teams. I want to be clear. I really didn't like that they just threw those two people in World to World title because that was my honest opinion at the time. But after I thought about it, these are two longest, most established six-man teams or trios teams in AEW, and whoever you gave the titles to were going to bring stability to the title. And that's right now with everything that was going on. If you talk again about what was needed, stability is needed, especially with establishing a new title. Whoever beats Pac and the Lucha Bros are going to have to, are going to have to bring it to beat them. And maybe you do an Orange Cassidy thing. Maybe you do a lot of other things. But this is a match you can have that can main event them three versus most other established three in the company can main event any show. And eventually, if the Young Bucks and Kenny come back, you get the Young Bucks and Kenny versus the Lucha Bros and Pac, which that's a 5-star match. I don't need to know how. It's a 5-star match right there. You give them 25 minutes and they break every scale you ever seen in your life. So great idea to pick them. And congratulations to Pac, the person I had just recently met, the first ever double belt holder in AEW history. And by double belt holder, I mean holds two AEW belts at the same time. Of course, I would love to say FTR, but none of their belts are AEW. So, again, yes, the first double belt holder in AEW history. So, congratulations to Pac. He deserves it.
Floyd, I had a question.
He's been one of the most, he's been one of the most stable competitors since the beginning. He was one of the guys that were day one there, so he definitely deserves it. Yes, sir.
I had a question for you. So do we call him,
I know the joke you're making. Come
honestly,
on.
do we call him Pac 2 belts? Do we call him 2-pack?
Yeah. I'm like, California, I figured you would have to go with 2-pack.
So I was wondering.
2-pack Neville.
Not for the record, not my joke. Somebody threw out there on Twitter. I saw it. I thought it was clever. I saw some of the one of Tupac's albums where they, put Pac on it with the belts. I thought that was kind of clever.
Oh, that's funny. Very nice guy when I met him. I definitely liked Pac. Tony Schiavone backstage with the Dark Order. They cut a promo. Dark Order. Jose interrupts and tries to sign 10. He doesn't want the Dark Order. He just wants 10. And John Silver looks at him confused, and what's that all about? Now, I actually have a controversial take on this little segment. I think 10 should join Andrade. I think the 10, as a member of the Dark Order, great. But the Dark Order obviously is dissolving to a point. I think he needs a little paint. You see what it's done for Anna with the JAS, which I think it has elevated her character. I think it's time for Ben 10 to make that decision. Take that mask off. Very attractive guy. Jacked to the gills. Makes a perfect heavy for Andrade and Roosh. I think 10 should go heel. Sir, any thoughts?
I was with you too. You said Anna Jay joined JSF, but that's a story for another day.
I mean, it has elevated her. She's on TV a lot more than she was.
Sure, let's go with that. But Andrade and Roosh with Jose, they present themselves as a big deal. In my opinion, obviously Roosh just got there. I just don't feel Andrade has been treated that way. And I think a lot of it was because of his presentation. First, they tried Vicky, it didn't work. They tried Chavo, it really didn't work well. And they keep plugging things. But if they do something very similar to what MJF did with Alexander Hammerstone and I believe Rich Holiday, it called the Dynasty in MLW. Those two, and what you're saying with 10, take the mask off, give him a new look, put him in a suit. You may have something there as being La Faction I can never say it right, Ingonable. I see something there. It's possible, I think it could work. It's just they need to do something to continue to. They do it themselves. They present themselves as a big deal, but you got to do something with them so that way they can find sustainable success. And I think that does work. And by joining them, 10, if he does, taking your idea, that could be your first credible threat for the Trios Championship against your new Trios Champion Death Triangle.
All right. Next up, Penelope Ford versus Tony, interim women's champion, Tony Storm. It was a nice match. Tony Storm won with the DDT. Any thoughts on this match, sir?
No, it's just continue building up Tony Storm until you get to that eventual unification bout against Thunder Rosa.
I miss Penelope, so keep using her. Keep her on my TV. The Acclaimed come out, and in the biggest, most written heel move in wrestling, the Acclaimed Max. Yo, listen. And Max is about to do his thing, so he's about to say something about Kenny and the Bucks. Then Swerve's music hits. Swerve comes out. I got a joke for y'all. The Acclaimed as AEW World Tag Team Champions. But for real, Billy cuts him off, says, "This ain't your house no more. This is Daddy's house, Daddy Ass's house." And because of all of you 2 weeks, it's the Acclaim versus Swerve in Our Glory. So the Acclaim get a rematch in their home state of New York. Now we gotta break this down, kayfabe wise, right? Right? Let me break this down, kayfabe wise. Why this doesn't make any sense? You're the champions. You're Swerve and Keith Lee, right? You just have this impressive match in Chicago. You win your match, right? What's your reward? You get to face the same team again in their hometown. What? You didn't cheat. You just won. Now, to me, it's one of those wrestling things that doesn't make a lot of fucking sense. What's your reward for winning your match clean? Oh, you now have to go wrestle them in front of their friends and family. Would this ever fly in any other combat sport? JR, your thoughts?
Number one, no. If a champion retains the title in a clear, decisive finish, there would not be an immediate rematch. Furthermore, I will add this, talking kayfabe. If this was another company based out of Stamford, Connecticut, they probably would get crucified for something like this. Now, this was teased at the, I think we mentioned this last week. This was teased at the presser or scrum, if you will, that Tony Khan said he was thinking about giving the claim of immediate rematch at Grand Slam, Dynamite Grand Slam, to, I think the term is to the chagrin of Swerve. Didn't seem very happy about it. Keith Lee, on the other hand, as we saw the pay-per-view, he seemed to have some respect. Now, I will say this, and I keep said it last week, and I hope it's not true. I hope this doesn't set up a heel turn Swerve on Keith Lee, and their reign was basically just to get them on the belts and try to get them over for an eventual heel turn. I think this championship, while we've seen great matches, and their match was great at All Out, and it can be controversial, and I'm sorry, I think, the title, since the Young Bucks won it by defeating Jurassic Express, and to this point has been booked incorrectly. I think there would have been better moves that could have been done with that championship. But the Acclaim, though, as much as I'm an FTR fan, they're over like Rover. You hear it in that crowd. They have, I believe, earned an opportunity to become AEW Tag Team Champions.
I just think Swerve and Keith Lee should have maybe just Swerve took a shortcut to win. And then Tony can be like, okay, well, you took a shortcut to win. Now I'm giving them the title shot in New York. But to just say, they just lost. I mean, if you watch the show, the other team was just better. And now what's your reward for losing? Getting a title match in your hometown.
No, I 100% see what you're saying. Even if it wasn't a shortcut, hey, his foot was underneath the rope, his arm was on the rope, something to create some sort of doubt.
Yeah, okay. But hey, again, that's me overthinking. It's wrestling. It doesn't have to make sense. I want to be clear on that. I know, but this was just one of those glaring things. Like I remember Swerve getting mad in the press conference about having to fight them again. He's like, "Why?" And I'm like, maybe this leads to Swerve getting more pissed if they happen to lose. Just to throw this out here, the Acclaim with their second title shot has gotten more title shots this year than the number one contender of tag team titles. Just throw that out there. Do what you will. We get backstage with Chris Jericho and the Jericho Appreciation Society. He's got two little brothers. Sammy Guevara taking on Darby this Friday, and my other little brother, Danny Garcia, the biggest match of his career in his hometown tonight. I know you're going to win. I believe in you, but since you left us alone at the celebration, I'm leaving you alone tonight. You got to win this on your own. Gotta say, I didn't even think of it this way. This was the perfect way to give Daniel Garcia his moment at home. Doing all of that was the perfect way to give Daniel Garcia his moment at home without any distractions. He's in Buffalo. This is how you get your moment. I never thought about it that way until after the main event. TNT Championship match, Wardlow versus Tony Nese. Any thoughts?
I hope this puts Wardlow on a trajectory to just murder.
Yeah, I'm about to read the promo, so then we can. He said, I've been hearing a lot that Wardlow has lost his momentum, and let me tell you something. Wardlow is the TNT champion. It's time to remind everywhere in the locker room and all of my fans that have stuck by me since day one that it's Wardlow's world. Okay, now what were you going to say? Because I feel like yours was based on what he said.
Yes,
in the promo.
That this puts Wardlow on a trajectory to get Wardlow over. And I'm talking about Goldberg-esque run. Just fucking powerbomb symphony every single person until he comes across the right opponent. And I'm thinking like Powerhouse Hobbs, for example, the right monster where that's going to take him into deep waters. that may be the one to beat him, may not, but just, I mean, Wardlow, you got to do what got him over, and that's just eating up people. And that sounds bad, but that's what you're going to do to get his momentum back, because it has been, and this is one of the issues with AEW, is that the chase to the championship is great. Once the chase is over, it's been stagnant, and I think hopefully let's get Wardlow back on track now.
Yeah, I think that's what it's going to do. I do think he got a little distracted with the 6-man stuff with FTR. I mean, he got him on the big show, so I'm happy for that. So now they can start building to his next opponent. Then you got the first tournament match in the Grand Slam Champions tournament. I mean, and, you know, honestly, this is very much, it ended up on the list of 2 people I can watch wrestle every day. Bryan Danielson versus Hangman Page. They pretty much have, you know, pretty much have a classic match, but this is how it ended up. We had Hangman counter Bryan Daniels running knees with the dead eye for near fall. Page went for the moonsault, but Daniel rolled out of the way. Bryan blasted Hangman with a running knee. Page rolled out of the ring. Bryan tried for a top rope suicida, but Hangman powerbombed Bryan on the apron and then followed up with a moonsault. This sets up the buckshot lariat. Hangman went for the buckshot lariat. Danielson ducked, rolled him up, and got the 3. I thought that was an excellent ending. I love how in most of Hangman's big matches, the buckshot, I know it's his finisher, but it plays such a huge role. Like when he lost to Jericho at the first All Out, it was Jericho counted the buckshot into the elbow, and it's just like, and I remember when he lost to Punk, Punk counted the buckshot basically into the GTS, and now we got Daniel Bryan countering the buckshot into a roll up. It's gonna be a story, a Hangman's career. Buckshot takes a while to set up, so a wily veteran is always gonna have that reversal in his back. So I thought that was a really good match. This sets up Bryan Danielson versus Chris Jericho, a rematch from All Out. So what did you think about the match, and what do you think about the match, and what do you think about the rematch to come?
You know, the match was a little bit different. This kind of reminded me a little bit of they had 2 masterpieces earlier. So think of Bret Hart Perfect at SummerSlam 1991. This match was like King of the Ring 93. It wasn't meant to be, you know, to go an hour or, you know, it went 20 minutes. It was a great match, but I think it was one of those ones where it didn't hurt Hangman because of the way the ending. It's just like, hey, I got you. I was, you know, this time I was this much better than you, Hangman. And so I thought the match was put together extremely well. I liked the ending because, like I said, I don't think it hurt Hangman. It's just he got him. He caught him. You know, he didn't make him tap out or use or finish him with his knees. And so I really enjoyed it. And I don't know what, as Bryan Danielson moves on to the next round, I look at what's next for Hangman.
Up next, we had Stokely. He was on the ramp with Austin Gunn, Colton Gunn, Ethan Page, Lee Moriarty, William Morrissey, and practice squad of the Buffalo Bills. Good Lord, this faction's huge. Dang. Stokely said he knew everybody wanted an explanation about what he did at All Out. Stagehand said Stokely was running low on time. Smokely snatched the stagehand with the microphone. W. Morrissey blasted the stagehand with a massive boot, and they beat him up. And then Moriarty showing a little more energy, got into the camera and said, "You got knocked the hell out," which was pretty cool. I thought that was pretty funny. I laughed. So, what did you think about this, of the establishment of this new group?
Number one, Lee Moriarty, shout out to you, because growing up, Friday was one of my favorite movies that my parents hated for me to watch. I used to sneak out to my cousin's house to watch it. So if that was a reference to Smokey and Friday, I completely loved it. So shout out to you for that. As far as, man, I am very confused because I don't think this group is a part of MJF's storyline moving forward. I think they're, as you may have mentioned, hired hitmen, which that's what it looks like. And so you got some names out there. A lot of people have been demanding a lot from Ethan Page. W. Morrissey has a great look. A lot of people love Lee Moriarty. So I'm very intrigued on what they're going to do with this moving forward. Stokely Hathaway has gotten a lot of praise because he is a great manager. Obviously, he's moved on from, Jay Cargill and the Baddies. So it's going to be interesting how this faction develops over the course of each week on Dynamite and Rampage.
We got the Pure. We finished up with the Pure Championship match. Wheeler Yuta versus Daniel Garcia. They both have a lot of chemistry. Again, another one. Their matches are great. I don't know if I could watch them wrestle every day, but I think they're really, really good. So, the finish. I always go with the finish. Yuta was issued a warning for hitting Garcia with a closed fist. Garcia grabbed Yuta in alignment, Dragon Tamer, but Yuta countered it with the crossface. Yuta went for the seatbelt and got a 2 count. Garcia locked on the Dragon Tamer again. There was a little struggle, and then Yuta finally had to tap out. Your new Ring of Honor Pure Wrestling Champion, Daniel Garcia, without the assistance of Chris Jericho, said Excalibur. I did skip over a part. Pause before we talk about who won. They did this big thing for Daniel Garcia. And honestly, it's not even in the preview. So this Daniel Garcia comes out to the ring, and West Side Gun is performing. So I'm thinking this is just a West Side Gun performance. And then all of a sudden, Daniel Garcia, West Side Gun's a Buffalo rapper. Daniel Garcia's from Buffalo. He raps Daniel Garcia to the ring. Again, I don't really know who West Side Gun is. Never knew who the man is. I'm old. I always throw that out there. I'm old. Not that really much into music in general. So, first time I ever saw West Side Gun was at an AEW event where he was sitting like to the right of me, and then someone told me he was famous. So, he raps this. I don't know how many people know who West Side Gun is, but to the people that love rap, love Buffalo rap, this was pretty cool. Don't know the song, whatever. But it was very cool entrance. It made this match really matter. It made Daniel Garcia look big. In a moment he came out to the ring, everybody saw this 3-4 days before me. I was like, Daniel Garcia is winning the title. All right, so Daniel Garcia taps out Yuta. What do you think of all of this, sir?
Well, as a Mexican country boy, I'm not familiar with West Side Gun. What I am familiar with is with musical acts. Anytime you have a musical act that brings somebody out, it makes them a bigger deal. Whether it was Motorhead, Triple H and Motorhead, whether it was, I remember Limp Bizkit and Undertaker at WrestleMania 19. I try to think of everybody.
Triple H and Motorhead.
I said Triple H and Motorhead. I swear I said that was the first one I said.
I thought you said whatever. I probably wasn't listening. Go.
Same thing we saw at Ruby Soho and the band at Double or Nothing. We were there live for it. It was amazing. It just makes a bigger presence, makes it a bigger deal. And then the match was great. And you had confetti at the end. I mean, this had to be one of the biggest moments. Like, if you really think about it, as far as I shouldn't say this, I'm gonna get shit for it, but like, you think of WrestleMania 12 with Shawn Michaels coming down from the rafters, and he wins the championship. The boyhood dream comes true, and the fireworks go off. I mean, tell me I'm wrong, but this had a similar moment. He had a big entrance with the musical act, and then at the end of the match, Brian Danielson puts the belt on him, and red and black confetti comes from the crowd. I mean, what more could you ask for? You basically, he's an internet darling, but not people are gonna be like, and who are watching this, if they don't know, follow the internet or follow him before, like, this kid's a big fucking deal. We need to pay attention to him.
That's it. Someone brings music to the ring. No one needs to know who you are because the rapper you got rapped to the ring. But big moment. Bryan Danielson walked out to the ring after the match. Yuta shoved Danielson. Yuta and Garcia observed the code of honor. Daniel placed the belt around Garcia's waist, and it pretty much looked like Daniel Garcia was joining the Blackpool Combat Club. It really did. It really, really did. I mean, I have thoughts on what this might lead to, but we will see. All right, now we're just going to jump right into, we jump right into AEW Rampage. And this is, pretty short show, of course, but I think this got back to Rampage. You know what I mean? If you know what I mean, it got back to like the initial Rampage. It's going to take a few weeks for the audience to get back because people have gotten used to not watching it. But I think it got back to being Rampage. So
one of the things was Tony Khan mentioned as the AEW's had a rash of injuries. CM Punk, Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, Bryan Danielson. There's so many injuries, and one of the things that he self-admitted, we really had to focus on Dynamite. And that's one of the dangers a lot of people have said who've done shows is when you do two shows, sometimes you sacrifice one show for the other one. It's very difficult to book two shows. And I think this is clear as case is that, you really want to make sure Dynamite has a big focus. That is your primetime show. 8 o'clock Eastern time, 5 o'clock in the West, till 10 o'clock in the East and 7 o'clock in the West, compared to your 10 o'clock in the East on Friday show. So now that some of these people are starting to get healthy, we should hopefully start seeing, I don't want to use the term stacked, but I would say more probably bigger names, more household names on the show.
Yeah, I just want to see storylines getting worked out on, good storylines getting worked out on Rampage. All right, so this show we started with the second match in the tournament. Sammy Guevara with Tay Mello versus Darby Allin without Sting, which I'll say this again. He's wrestling the Jericho Appreciation Society. They're going to cheat. Faces just have no friends, or their friends suck. Darby could have found someone else. Whatever, I don't know. All right, so we get to the end. Okay. Sammy tried a coffee drop of his own, but Darby moved. And Jay ran out to decide to distract the ref. Sammy powerbombed Darby on Darby's skateboard and then finished him off with the GTH for the win. It may not be popular, but a win is a win, said JR. So that's the other JR. What does this JR say about this match?
These two men, we've known from the minute that they got into AEW, will literally kill themselves to put on a show. They would do crazy, insane stuff. And there were some spots in here, and I remember one of them, Darby Allin he was like a forward slide through underneath the bottom rope, and Sammy had caught him with a cutter. I mean, it looked so clean and crisp and devastating when he did it. I mean, this match was everything you expected to be. They have tons of history. Going back to the beginning of AEW, and so I enjoyed the next installment. These are guys who are going to help carry the company for years to come. So I thought it was great. I think unfortunately, I didn't think Darby was going to win. Not that we couldn't get Moxley and Darby. People would have ate that up, but I felt that Sammy was going to get the W in this moving forward to face Moxley, which would be tomorrow, September 14th on Dynamite.
All right. Thought the match was really solid. The pillar versus pillar matches always deliver. The outside interference, it's wrestling, so I like it. And I thought that was pretty cool. But again, Darby, get you another friend other than Sting, because apparently Sting doesn't come to every show, so need you to get another friend. ROH TV champion Samoa Joe comes out to the ring. Hello, my name is Samoa Joe, and it feels so good to be back here in AEW. I realize I've been away for a bit, and I apologize. I owe you much more violence in the near future. I'm here to say I'm open for business. The world's greatest lawyer, Mark Sterling, comes out, and you'll hear why. And Josh Woods and Tony Nese interrupts. Basically, We've never closed. Josh Woods is a former ROH Pure Champion. This on the Dynamite. He saved my life. I think he deserves a shot at the title. You're right about Josh Woods. He's an incredible athlete. So I say you, sir, should get everything that you ask for, and Josh Woods does deserve an opportunity, and of course he offers it right now. He says, no, we're not doing it in Buffalo. We're doing it next week in Albany. And then Excalibur points out there are some mind games. Again, greatest lawyer ever. His clients who never win anything on national TV keep getting title shots. I don't know how it's possible. Josh Woods, again, is a former ROH Pure Champion. Don't get me wrong on that, but it's like, how's he getting a shot at Samoa Joe? It's like, couldn't you come up with anybody more interesting for Samoa Joe's first appointment? Whatever. Like Josh Woods, I think he has talent, but I just don't think you've done anything to build up that he could actually beat Samoa Joe. So, what do you think, JR?
We gotta get Samoa Joe over. Josh Woods is a great talent, but he's gonna be fed to the Samoan submission machine come next week on Rampage. And I think this is one of the things is, fortunately, ROH lives because Tony Khan bought it. Unfortunately, they don't have a television show yet, so we're gonna need to keep seeing some of these more matches on AEW television to make sure that the people don't forget that the badass that is Samoa Joe is a part of one of Tony Khan's company. I don't know. I'm gonna start saying Tony Khan Enterprises is what he's a part of.
All right, so then we had Madison Rayne and Serena Deeb. The story of this match is Serena Deeb is basically saying she is the professional, the technician, the professor of this route, and the coach, Madison Rayne's the coach, so Serena's basically saying, this is my yard. I like that they build a reason for them to wrestle. It didn't even take a lot, but it was just like, Serena wants you to know you don't belong here. This is my house. Serena Deeb proves it. She smashes Rayne's knee into the mat and then tapped Rayne out in her Deeb Tox. I guess that's what it's called. And then Excalibur added Serena Deeb very happy protecting her yard here tonight. Any thoughts on that match?
Good win by Serena Deeb. I know back in July at Death Before Dishonor, she had a match with Mercedes where she lost. Since then, in singles competition, Serena has won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this makes 6 matches in a row. So she's definitely getting built for something. I don't know quite yet what that is.
Hope she takes the belt off of Mercedes. I mean, Mercedes is out injured, but that'd be pretty cool. We got Lexi in there backstage with Powerhouse Hobbs. Hobbs, I went to All Out, took absolute Ricky Starks and put his ass 6 feet deep. Now I get to open the book of Hobbs and show the world why I'm Powerhouse Hobbs. Book of Hobbs, Hall of Fame, similar, same. What'd you think?
Man, I like Hobbs a lot. I gotta see more where this goes.
Yeah, it was just as soon as he said the Book of Hobbs, all I could popped up in my head. Hall of Fame? Hall of Fame. He's going to beat people up. Love it. Powerhouse. All right, time for the main event. We get Claudio Castagnoli against my favorite wrestler in the universe. Well, tied for my favorite wrestler in the universe, Mr. Dax Harwood. And this is for the ROH title. We had a very good match, very physical match. This is what Dax Harwood does. And even Jericho said, what a match this is. This is by far Claudio's toughest title bench for Jim Ross. Dax connected with a slingshot Liger bomb on Claudio for a 2 count. Dax followed up with German suplexes. Claudio retaliated with a barrage of European uppercuts. How he was doing it, he was just uppercutting them. He was like Dax couldn't even stand up. Claudio grabbed Dax with the giant swing. Then Claudio hit the sharpshooter. Dax rolled through and applied the sharpshooter of his own. Claudio escaped and pummeled Dax with elbows. Then Claudio put the sharpshooter back on Dax and forced him to tap out. What do you think, sir?
This is this was match was everything I knew was going to be. Very physical. technical, hard-hitting match. These are both amazing talents. I love Dax. And at the same time, I think in order to enjoy this match, you had to know that this title, even though the title was on the line, there was going to be no title fin, no change. It wasn't going to happen. And I think that's one of the things that moving forward, I would like there to be a story built up, as you mentioned earlier, with Claudio, since he's the ROH World Heavyweight Champion. I know they try to tell something like they tease something at the end of Ring of Honor, Death Before Dishonor, but I just need a little bit more. Like I want to feel like there's an opportunity where the belt can't change hands.
I think there was a simple, small change that could have made this match more believable. Make it a championship contenders match. Dax could have won, to get another title shot. I know, just a small change would have added to where I didn't know who was going to win. Very good match. Very, how big of a fan of Dax I am. He did his thing. I'm tired of him. This second time this year he's tapped out to the sharpshooter. Not really a fan of that. I'm guessing it was his idea, unfortunately. But yeah, don't really like it. But really good match. Claudio come out and they're doing a good job of giving him challengers to build up his Ring of Honor run. I think Dax one of the best wrestlers. But as far as to singles wrestlers levels, it's time for Claudio to take a step up on his next challenger. What do you think?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, yeah, if Cole is healthy, if Adam Cole is healthy, maybe it's time for Adam Cole to try to be the 4-time Ring of Honor World Champion. Or is it 5? Whatever. I don't know. There's a lot of world championships in there. So, all right. That was it for Rampage and Dynamite from Buffalo. Overall, good week of shows. This is where you get to hear my spicy hot take. And JR's already heard it, so everyone else gets to hear it. Rampage and Dynamite was exactly what AEW needed. A very good show to show that the company was stable and it's going forward and it can move forward without the offending parties. AEW Dynamite and Rampage was not what I wanted at all. Oh my God, not what I wanted at all. They were really great wrestling shows. I'm not going to say that. And I love wrestling. But good Lord, I wanted the mess. And it just felt like they missed out on an opportunity with a lot more eyes paying attention to them. A lot more eyes came in to say, hey, what the fuck is up? And what they got a good to great wrestling show. They got a very stable, unmessy wrestling show. And a lot of people probably won't ever tune in again. I'm talking about the people that tune in for the mess. They just, I'm good. Right? Yeah, didn't get what I wanted. I'm out. And you kind of saw as the ratings kind of dipped through the night. People wanted to see it. And I think you should have gave it to them. Again, I'm not saying this is exactly how you do it. Tony Khan could do it way better than me. Drama and all that stuff, way better than me. Start with CM Punk in the middle of the ring with his arm messed up, talking about how stupid the company is, how these children let him down. Drop the belt and walk out. The Young Bucks come out and say good riddance with their titles on the hand. Like, we carried this company for years until you decided the water was warm and it was safe, and then you decided to join. And they bury him. And you start off real problems. And then Punk with the sling on his hand comes out to try to attack him. The security guards got to pull him out. Oh my God, drama. So much drama. Delicious attitude era, violence and drama and suspension of disbelief. That's what I wanted. And I know. I host the All Things Elite podcast, and we're all about the proclivity of positivity. I am. But I want it messy. I want it super fucking filthy, pig and slop, dirty, messy. I wanted a reason for a person that never tuned in AEW before on September 7th to have a reason to tune in on September 14th. What'd they get? A really good wrestling show. Nothing wrong with that. That's a really good wrestling show. Reading I love AEW. Every week is really good to great. Every week is that. But come on, where's the drama? You had it. You had the eyes. You had the moment. Where was it? And again, I'm going to do the sentiment that some people have said. I don't know who said this because this was my original thought. Dude, if y'all are grown-ass men and y'all can't get past this to make money, what are you doing in wrestling? This seriously, what are you doing in wrestling? This shit's been going on forever, and people use it to make money. So why didn't you use it to make money? So again, this is my personal thoughts. I know a lot of people that were very happy with the show. I talked to one of my best friends, the Voices of Reason, and she's like, man, that's what AEW needed. And I'm like, sure. Because I have to say, I understand AEW needed that. But it literally disappointed the hell out of me. I wanted it to be filthy. I wanted somebody to address something. Nothing happened. I want to take it. I'm like literally, like if I was one of the people that tuned in, I'm 15 minutes into the show and I'm out because you got nothing. Now, again, I've told JR about this, so he's already had, but I want him to rebut or say what he thinks so everyone else can hear it.
Well, unfortunately for myself, I'm a little bit broken, and I know that I curse like a sailor and say fuck a lot, but at the end of the day, I tend to think of things on a more professional level. Now, what Floyd is saying isn't wrong because people like drama. There's a reason why Real Housewives of Hollywood or Florida or whatever Atlanta where they're from is number one and constantly number one. There's a reason why The Challenge is constantly number one. There's a reason why some shows are always in the top 10 because people like drama, they like negativity, they like the nonsense. It is what it is. I don't know what's about humans in their nature. They enjoy seeing the wreckage and the turmoil. It is what it is. I mean, I can't say anything. I don't want to say anything like saying Floyd is wrong because the line of thinking is sound that people love drama. They do. I just know it wasn't going to happen because obviously when you talk litigation, there's the lawsuits, you can't say anything. You have to stay quiet. Every party has to stay quiet because the minute one person opens their mouth, that just allows for ammunition and any sort of potential litigation. And I just knew it wasn't going to happen. That's why when Max Caster was like, I'm taking notes on Twitter, like I'm writing all stuff down. I'm like, I don't know why everybody's getting excited. Nothing's going to be said. I even said like, it's going to be a mid promo, which it wasn't even a promo because Swerve cut him off. It's just how things work out. And I go back saying it's unfortunate that everything devolved to where it's at today. I hope this gets addressed soon and fixed between the independent investigation done and we get some sort of sense of resolution moving forward. And it's just, professional wrestling has a lot of dark stains in its past. And this is another one. And, you know, it may not seem like a big deal, but it is a big deal. You had the star of your company. Like, imagine Stone Cold Steve Austin and all of a sudden got into a fight with The Undertaker, Triple H, and The Rock, and now it's like the four of those guys can't be on the company anymore. It's sad. I just wish people can learn how to come to some sort of resolution and move forward. Because it's a business and and the goal is to entertain the fans and make money.
Yeah, and that's what I want. I just want entertaining television. And like I said, I know some people just like the athletic side, the professional wrestling side of professional wrestling. And to them, I'm glad you got what you wanted. But I like the messy. I like it messy, and I would have loved some messiness. Well, let's finish the show with AEW Dynamite Albany preview. Shout out to my boy Dave Finishell, who will be in the building with his kid. Enjoy it. Tell him about FTR and make sure he's in love. We only got 3 matches announced right now on the card. We're going to get something announced the day of, but we got Toni Storm and Athena versus Serena Deeb and Britt Baker. We have the second round or semifinal action in the tournament. We have Jon Moxley versus Sammy Guevara. And on the other side, we have another Blackpool Combat Club versus JAS match. We got Chris Jericho versus Bryan Danielson. All right, so who do you got winning, sir?
In the semifinals,
Uh-huh.
I've been thinking about this a lot because I think they go one or two ways. I'm just a classic, like a classic babyface versus good guy. There's got to be some shenanigans. I would like to see Bryan Danielson versus Sammy Guevara in the finals. I feel like we're going to end up getting Moxley and Danielson, but I would like to see Danielson versus Sammy Guevara in the finals.
People are going to hate what I have to say. I think it's going to be Moxley versus Chris Jericho in the finals, with the boy Daniel Garcia finally choosing the side and turning on Bryan Danielson.
Yeah, I hate that.
Jericho versus Mox, live from New York. Let's fucking go. Let's go. JAS versus Blackpool Combat Club in the Grand Slam. So, yeah, let's do it. But, yeah, I think Daniel Garcia finally picks his side, which he needs to, and he beats Daniel Garcia. Daniel Garcia screws over Bryan Danielson. Mox versus Jericho. Let's go. Because I just think they're trying to go with big names for it. I mean, Mox and Danielson works, but I think Mox and Jericho, 2 biggest names you can go to decide the world title in Grand Slam in New York. Let's go. Let's do that. Toni Storm and Athena versus Deeb and Baker. I literally have no idea who's going to win. I'm thinking Baker, maybe Deeb taps out Athena or Storm, and then you give Toni Storm Deeb as her first challenger, and maybe Baker has a problem with it. I think that's probably the logical way to go. What do you think?
I agree.
All right, interim titles are always fun because they can kind of just go wherever they want to with them. So that is Dynamite this week. Just kind of a few notes. September 23rd, Full Gear tickets go on sale. Me and the boy JR will be online trying to help our boy Alex get tickets. Next month, make sure you're looking out for your schedule because of the NBA and all World Series and all sorts of things. It looks like Dynamite and Rampage are going to be moving around. I am going to be announcing that through the month as we get all the dates, but I don't have them wrote down right now. Again, Austin is way better at this than I am. So we're going to get those out for you and make sure everybody's aware. But I believe that's all the news and notes for this week. But make sure you watch the Sammy vlog. I thought that was pretty funny this week. And Private Party has been doing their own little vlog. And Isaiah Cassidy and Daniel Garcia might need the new tag team to watch out for because they seem like the best friends in the world. And so I thought that was I watched that video and I thought that was pretty funny. Who was on RJ? Who was on AEW? Oh, yeah. I was going to call him 2PO, but Matt Menard and Angelo Parker? That's his last name, right?
Yes.
All right. So they were on. Daddy Magic was on there, and they were having good fun. But, yeah, that's everything for this week. Do you have anything else left, JR?
No. Like I said, I think we're going to see a new. I don't want to say I'm not going to say permanent or new era. I'm going to say use a new interim era in AEW, and I hope that we use this time in AEW to find the talent that will help carry AEW to the next generation. Whether establishing new talent, creating new main event stars, putting over new talent, because I think it's important to the success of AEW to do that. And I think over the course of years, we've seen some talent kind of get built up, something happens, and they kind of fall back down, get stagnant. So I look forward to what the future of AEW is throughout the end of 2022, because if the Full Gear poster is any indication, we're going to not have some long-standing talent through this next pay-per-view cycle. I think I said that correctly, pay-per-view cycle. Yeah. Or through the next pay-per-view, I'll just leave it at that.
All right, well, make sure you're following us at AT Elite Pod on Twitter. Make sure you're downloading it. Make sure you follow me and anything. And if you have any questions for the show, want to give us shit, make sure you hit us up on Twitter or all things elite pod at gmail.com. With that, I leave with the only thing dedicating my last section. A lot of you don't even listen to it. But again, happy 10-year anniversary for One Nation Radio. When I first got into podcasting on other than my small podcast and I got on Social Suplex, I listened to Keeping the Strong Style, One Nation Radio every week. I wish I could be 20% as cool as Rich and James are effortlessly. So I want to shout out to them. I want to be like y'all when I grow up, even though you're both younger than me. All right. So to that, I leave you all the way I always leave you. Whether it is home, work, or school, always do your best to be elite.
Tired of long waits and rushed care at the ER and urgent care clinic? Next time, stay home and let Dispatch Health bring the power of the hospital to you.
I call Dispatch Health. A care team of medical professionals actually come to your house.
They're the same caliber of people that you would see if you were at a hospital or an urgent care.
Dispatch Health can treat most non-life-threatening emergencies.
They can do the x-rays, they can do stitches,
urinary tract infections, blood test, urinalysis, ultrasound.
It's almost everything that they can do at the ER.
You never feel rushed. They're there for you and only you.
I felt like their only patient.
And it costs no more than a trip to urgent care because Dispatch Health is covered by most insurance, including Medicare. See if we serve your home at dispatchhealth.com.
Dispatch Health really went above and beyond.
It's wonderful to have care come to your home.
House calls are back, and they're better than ever. Learn more at dispatchhealth.com.
Ask Sherwin-Williams during the 4-day super sale September 16th through the 19th and get 40% off paints and stains with prices starting at $26.69. That means 40% off our most popular color family, blue. Psychologists have found it to be soothing and relaxing, which makes it especially great for bedrooms and bathrooms. And of course, 40% off all of our other colors. Shop the sale online or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Click the banner to learn more. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.